safe space. We ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we're taking the quest. Join Tarsha on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Welcome to the Adoption Journey Podcast. I am your host, Tarsha Smith, and welcome to another story and another journey. Before I get started, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all the things in all of the places, YouTube, Instagram. Make sure you follow us. So today in the building, we have a fellow adoptee. His name is Dr. Adam, and I am so excited to hear this story because when we spoke, I'm like, you're saying too much. I don't want to hear. No. Hello, Dr. Adam.
Good evening. Hello, Tarsha. Very, very good to be here.
So I like to just dive right in. So let's start here. Do you know how old you were when you were adopted?
I do. And thanks to just the wealth of information that I've been able to access, that is truly a gift. I can say that I was adopted when I was 1 year old.
Okay. Did you grow up knowing you were adopted, or is that something that you found out later?
You know, I've always known that I was adopted. I've been told that, from as long as I could hear and understand cognitively the term
Okay.
adoption.
Okay.
Yeah,
S-
something that I feel like is something that's always been told to me. I've always heard and always known. That's never been a question.
Okay, so are you a same race adoptee, or were you adopted by another race?
I'm a same race adoptee. Both of my adopted
Ooh,
parents are black, like myself. Yes.
okay. Okay, I want to start right there because I am also a same race adoptee. What was it like for you growing up being adopted by Black people? But even being adopted by Black people, did you feel different? Did you, or did you just feel like you just fit right in? And did the family, did it ever come up, or was it just like he's one of us and it doesn't matter?
I would say a lot of that last statement that you made, that's definitely the theme of the story. But again, it's something that I've always known. Like, I've always known that I was adopted. I just didn't always know the layers of what that meant and the different effects of that for my identity, right? And it's something that I've been thinking about actually a lot recently when it comes to the narrative of being an adoptee and just ownership for what that actually means to us. Not what it means to somebody else, not what we're told, or
Yeah.
made to believe or just feel comfortable believing. Just what is the truth of that for ourselves that we can just own? And I actually remember watching one of your early podcasts about your adoption story, and you said something actually that really resonates with me. And you talked about just describing, your facial features and how you were very observant and how you would look and realize that, okay, you did not look like your family members. And I challenged that for myself because on the flip side, I was told that I did. I was told from different family members on both sides, more so my adoptive mother's side, that I looked like great uncles or third cousins and Uncle Harry's and Aunt Barbara's and all these other people that I've never met in my
Uncle
life.
Harry.
And I'm like, okay, but I'm still adopted, so how can that be? But in the moment, I didn't really challenge it. I just kind of went with it because that was more comfortable and easier to do than to sit with the fact of, well, no, I don't.
that, that, right. But more comfortable for who?
I think everyone.
Oh,
I
okay.
think myself, because again, it's easy to think about assimilating into, families and dynamics and things that feel like you have comfort. They're filled with love. Like, I grew up in a house full with a lot of love. I grew up with a stable environment, probably like yourself, where on
very
paper,
much.
on the surface
Hmm.
level. You don't ask a lot of questions as far as like your son doesn't look like you. I mean, if you start to look hard enough, sure. But just most times, 9 out of 10, we're just a normal black family.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you about your upbringing. So you had that just loving, stable, normal, like no
Hmm.
fires, if you will. Just we just doing life, and growing up, life is good. Are
Yeah.
you an only
Yeah.
child?
No, actually, and this is kind of a little bit going to your story, but I was adopted at one by my adoptive mother. And then she married my adoptive father actually several years later. They met, they dated, and then we became a blended
Time out.
family.
Time out. Wait.
Okay, where do we need to go
Stop.
back?
So she adopted you as a single mother?
Yeah, she did. And that's,
Huh.
an origin that I've actually spoken about over recent years and kind of explored my adoption journey is that began with a woman who was black, unmarried, single, a woman that is a woman of God that has a lot of faith and in her perspective, that was a calling for her to make. That was a calling and an assignment for her to do and then became the more traditional, side of things as far as, okay, well, let's marry. And later on, to answer your question, she had her own biological child. My younger sister, we're about 4 years apart. Um, yeah.
I would love to know I don't, you might know the answer to this, but as a single black woman, I hear you when you said she felt like this was her calling and everything, but I think in my brain, it's like who says I'm getting ready to be a single parent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah,
don't even think that that's like and my mom would be able to tell this story. Obviously, I would want to honor her voice and her perspective and her role
sure.
in this. But what I can say is just growing up, I don't think she ever looked at it that way. I don't think my mom
Mm,
ever called herself a single parent. I just think that she was someone who was strong in her relationship with God, still is, but she, knew the assignment that was laid out for her. And I would say like happenstance as far as finding out about me and the need for adopting a young black baby boy in the
hmm
1990s and, just that type of situation that I was in, I think that that's just where the calling and where the need and the support became. It wasn't really about the identity of like what people would see as far as you're older actually at the time than a lot of traditional mothers.
Sure.
She was in her late 30s when she adopted me actually. So she was actually kind of
Okay.
past, I would say, the age of where somebody would probably naturally have a child. But then she goes and adopts a child.
And
But
then
that
four
didn't
years
even
later
happen.
has a child.
Right, and then 4 years later has a child. So I don't really think that that's. I think it's what people see on the surface level that can maybe be something that isn't always understood.
Yeah.
But I think that if she were to speak about that, it's just this is the assignment that I know I have.
Okay.
And that's
And I
it.
am no one to question the assignment. If God told you to do it, okay. That's all you're gonna get out of me.
That's really
Okay.
it. That's really all I can say.
That's it.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't even think about it
So
really.
yeah. So you have a sibling who's biological. Do you feel like there was ever any differences made
I think
as
the
an
obvious answer.
adult?
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is yes, because even though, being a normal black family on the surface, which is also still very true, the love and the foundation is there. I grew up with a lot of good things. I think that once I got older, even going through my teenage years, I started to see just like the differences for me and my identity and my relationships with different family members because I was adopted. Those are just facts. But
Mm.
how we
Mm-hmm.
interpret and how we discuss those facts, right? Like how we start to, if we do, not everyone does. And I grew up in an environment where we really
Right.
didn't talk about that like how we could talk about it now. Um, there are
Mm-hmm.
differences. There are definitely differences for sure.
Mm. Okay, so loving home, and there's a biological sibling in the home, but still loving home. What makes you set out, like, what's that thing that says, makes you start thinking about being adopted? Because I know for me, that didn't come till way later. Like, I set out to find my biological mother, but thinking about being adopted, like what that means, way later. Even when
Yeah.
I found her, I still didn't, that didn't click for me till years later. And I'm asking because you are right around the same age that I was when I found my birth mother, and you're already in it. See, I wasn't there yet.
Yeah. 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 Uh, me and my wife laugh about this a lot now because I've always joked that I was always like a little mini private investigator. I think because I knew that I was adopted and I didn't have a lot of answers to questions, it just really fueled me to just search and just
That's an
ask
adoptee
and
thing.
think. I mean,
That's
we
an adult. We're
all,
all
right?
like
We're
that.
all little private
We're all
investigators.
like that. We're going to
Trust
figure
me.
it out.
And that was me. I mean, that was really me.
Hmm.
And like, I remember like going on social media, like typing out names and searching for people in Knoxville, Tennessee that maybe or maybe weren't related to me. I didn't have anything to reference. I didn't have anything to confirm that.
Oh, hold
But
on. We got to stop right there. Back up a little bit. You
where'd we
have
go?
information. You said that going into it. Why do
Mhm.
you have this information? Where'd you get it from?
Well, that goes back to what I was told growing up. So, because my adoptive mother adopted me, it was a closed adoption going back.
Mm.
So, there wasn't a lot of information that she was provided with because of the nature of a closed adoption process.
Right.
But what she
Okay.
was able to, get and share with me growing up was that I was born in Knoxville and that I was born from a teenage, I guess, situation that wasn't really conducive for raising a child, and that my biological mother made the decision to give me up for adoption. There was no biological father in the picture, and then here we are, as far as a trying to have an abandoned baby, be up for the system, but that's how that goes. And insert, there's a need for someone to step in and be your parent, be that stable foundation. But those were the only limited things that I had growing up with. So, in the
So
age of
how did
social
you get the
media,
rest?
right? So, I never
Little
stopped.
private
I never
investigator.
stopped. I mean, I never stopped, but like, I want to say that the reason why I never stopped is because a lot of adoptees, probably like myself, feel like we go in and out. Like, we go in and out of like our journey and what it means to be adopted and what we want to know and what we don't want to know, what we're willing to give energy to, what we're not really, giving energy to. Because we also have to go back to the other identities, whether we're a father, a son, a mother, a wife, a sister,
Ooh,
a
we
friend, an
have to
educator,
go back to
right?
the other identities.
Yeah. So we don't necessarily spend the
Mm.
whole day, the whole life period in digging into all this stuff. I couldn't, at least. I'm just going to speak for me. I couldn't do that because I didn't have answers. And the answers that I got came from going through the legal process of actually accessing my closed adoption records. And I did that.
You got your records?
I did. during the
I
craziest
think
time, the
you're one of the
pandemic.
first people I've ever heard say that because I got my original birth certificate, but I've never seen my records.
Yes, excuse me, I got my adoption records when I
How
was in the pandemic.
sway?
Yeah, I got my adoption records during the pandemic. Yeah,
In what
that
state, if you don't mind?
Tennessee. So I live in
Okay, because every
Tennessee.
state is different. Okay, okay.
hmm I live in Tennessee. I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, and so in my like mid 20s during the pandemic, which everybody can say how that affected them,
Sure.
it was rough for me. And I still think about it now. I was in that place where I was really, really lost. Like I didn't have really any kind of compass for where I was going, what I was doing. I was laid off from work, like probably many people.
Mm-hmm.
I was living on my own, trying to find stable ground, trying to build something single, starting a master's degree program. You know, not really having the best relationships with anyone, but also feeling like, let me go back to my adoption journey again. I don't know anything about that, Adam. Let's go back and find some answers on that.
Wow.
Like,
I don't
that's
know anything
something we
about
can,
that,
you
Adam.
know,
Let's go figure out who he is.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's really how it felt. It's like that's that one thing that it's like it's over there and it's on the back burner. There's not really any resolution to it. There's no any answers or any kind of closure with it. I don't know
Yeah.
anything. So I had a lot of time. I had a lot of effort and energy to give to it.
I'm so intrigued about the fact that you got your records.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so my first question, has
yeah.
your name always been Adam?
No. It hasn't actually. And
Mm.
that's a thing that I've seen people talk about this, and I'm not completely sure how I feel about it. Besides, what I can say is that honoring whatever name I was given from birth is important to me, whether or not I know who gave that name, whether it was a state system thing or it was a biological, relative thing, or it was a foster care parent thing. I can't say. But what I do know is that that was an official name on my records that I had, and it's not the name that I have now. But I still honor it. But I'm still thinking about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a biggie for people. I personally did not experience that. I was baby girl on my with the last name. So there's no name on my original birth certificate, just baby girl.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Hold on, because I started off that way. But and I didn't want to really get too much in the weeds of this, but since you bring it up, I think it's really good to share this. So I started off as like baby boy with the last name of my biological mother.
Mhm.
However, once I entered into the foster care system, I think that the name changed into the birth certificate again. And then through just that process of being in foster care, I actually had a real name that was given to me before
Because you
my.
were there for a year.
Mhm.
We got to call him something.
We're not just going to call him baby boy last name. We have to actually give him some
We
meaning,
have to
give
give
him
him a
some.
name.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, but that's the system. That's the thing that those small details though.
Mhm.
It's just it's wild.
Okay, so you get your records. Okay, so we find out about the name. Or
Mm.
did you no, you wouldn't have known that until you got your records. Let me back up though. Do your parents know you're doing this? Are you just
At the
doing this
time,
at the time? Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah,
Okay. How did they
yeah.
feel about it?
I think it's one of those things that they knew that I was going to do it. They knew that it was something that was important for me to have. as an adopted person,
Okay.
as an adopted child. But I think what a lot of parents like them feel too is, well, where do we really help you with that? Like, what do we really do? And I will applaud my parents on one thing that they did to support me, which was just being there as far as still like the
Yeah.
parents that I know. Whether or
Yeah.
not we went into certain things that I was discovering about my adoption journey, about my adoption records, that's a lot. That's a lot to go through. And we didn't necessarily go through all of those things, like that, because I'm different. I'm the person that, like, I will sit through and go through every detail, look over every single piece of paper, and we can just talk everything out. We can. My parents aren't like that, you know. And so that's just me, and that's fine. But it also kind of made me think about, well, where's the space to do that? You know, like, where is the space to share what I'm learning about biological family
Mm.
members, about how I became adopted, about, the different key players involved.
Where is the
Enter
space
Adoption
for me
Network.
to share? Right.
Yeah,
Because you find out this stuff and you want to tell somebody.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, okay, I don't know if you want to get into the weeds, but inquiring minds want to know what else did you find out about your biological people?
Yeah, that there was a
Whatever you
lot
wish to
of,
share.
well, it's more of like how to actually word things that, I've changed my thoughts about over years. How I felt then is not how I feel now. I just have to make that disclaimer.
Okay.
Um, then
Okay.
it was like, oh, I really want to meet all these people and I really want to ask them all these questions about why all of this happened, and also figure out the truth for, okay, your role in this. What were you doing? What was life like? Like, what were you like seriously, what were you doing in 1994? Like, how did we get here? But
I could probably answer
what I
that question.
found out,
I was in high
right?
school in the 90s.
I mean, well, then maybe you could actually speak to it because so were they. So were they. So maybe you could actually speak to it a little bit because heck if I know. I still don't know. But I didn't really realize until later that I was meeting people in a very complicated space where going backwards and talking about things that, to them, it's like the past or it's just incomplete, stories is hard for them to do. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
uh,
I that is not a lesson. I'm just learning that lesson. So there's that within
I
the
didn't
past
learn
couple of years myself.
that.
I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
learn that. I'm just learning
No.
it within the past couple of years. Like, oh, it's probably a lot for an adopted person to show up, and you've probably not ever considered this scenario because let's be real, people are like that stuff only happens on TV, and then it happens to you in real life. You've never thought about it happening to you in real life, so therefore
No.
you've not processed this person in your mind. This person is never probably going to come back again, and somewhere, some way, you've dealt with that, and that's been your reality. And then, surprise, hello, how are you? And I have all the questions. Yeah.
Yes, and I'll say the real tea was the first bomb for me was realizing that my biological father did not know about my existence at all. And I have a very, like, very deep soft spot, probably for the rest of my life, for him, for that fact alone. Right? Um, yeah.
Okay,
Like,
so
it's
wait, how long? I want to, because it's like when the adoptees pull that string, stuff just starts unraveling.
mhm,
So you
mhm.
get your records, and it unravels fast.
Yep.
So you get your records, and how long between you getting your records and you setting out to find these people? Like, what's the time frame there?
Sure. So it took me about like 8 or so months to get my adoption records from like start to
Mm-hmm.
finish. Shout out to my case manager with the Department of Child Services. She was a real G in being patient with me and all my questions and helping me process things. They are the unsung heroes. But anyways, after that, I took about maybe like 6 or so months before I started to make connections. And it wasn't easy to make the connections at first because the way that my adoption process went, once I got my adoption records, it showed my biological mother's contact information and it gave me the option to reach out to her or not, but only if she marked it that she was okay with making contact. And the other asterisk of that was if it was just for her or if it was for her and other biological family members. And for her, it was just for
Mm.
her only, just her. And so, me being me, I wrote a very carefully written letter, worded letter to her, and I mailed it. And, a year goes by and I don't hear anything. But
Oh,
in
that would have drove
between
me
that year,
crazy.
I mean, it was wild to me because it's like, I don't like to wait. I'm like, okay, let's
Now,
start doing
right
something.
now.
But being a private investigator, because I don't like to wait, I went to my Ancestry DNA websites that I already had a membership with. And because I had this information from my adoption records, I had names for people that I could actually connect to with different relatives on those sites, right? And so I
Yeah, that's
started
how
just
we do
doing
it.
deductive reasoning here. I'm like, you are here and you are there and you have the same last name. Let's do a Google search. What do you know? You're probably that person. And the thread that you were talking about was pulled when I made a connection with a third cousin of mine on my biological father's side of the family. And it's still funny to me to this day where I reached out to her, but I reached out to her actually years ago when I was in college, and I didn't even know how we were connected. I just was on that website because I was hoping to make some kind of sense about who I'm related to and where I fit in and all this stuff.
Okay, so I got
But
to ask. Okay, so let me just to clarify. You took a DNA test
mhm,
before you got your records.
I
So
did.
you
I was on the
had
handshake websites.
okay. And so
Yeah.
then you get your records and now you can connect the dots because you have real names.
Yes.
Got
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was what I was missing. And so once I got that information with those records, I connected back with that cousin again that I already kind of had some rapport. And I kid you not, she looked at me when I asked her if she knew certain people. And she said, I know who you are. I know whose son you are. You are my cousin. And I was like, who's basically like, who's my father? Like, who are you talking about?
Who? Right. Who?
Like,
Are you gonna tell me more?
right. And she was like, you are his twin. I kid you not. Like, you look just like him. And I was getting nervous. Like, I
Wow.
remember that. And even though it was like more than 5 years ago, I remember how nervous I was because it was like getting real, right? Like it's different when
I know
you're
that feeling. Yeah.
emailing or texting people, but
Mm-hmm.
then she like slid in a couple photos, and then it's like that could be my biological father. That could actually be the person who I think that is. He looks just like me. Like I look just like him.
Okay,
Like,
pause. Being
yeah.
an adoptee in this family and not seeing your face in anybody else, then you get this picture. How'd that feel?
Again, it's a gift. It's like the biggest hug and a gift to
Mm.
oneself, at least for me, because that's something that is huge. It is huge that most people don't even have to second guess. Most people don't even
They
look
don't even
left. They
think
don't
about
look
it.
right. They don't think about it. They
Nope.
just know. They're gifted with the
Yep.
knowledge of knowing. And that is so
Oof.
underrated. It's underrated. Like, I get worked up and passionate about it now because I'm like, no, you can't tell me that you just are, oh yeah, like people said I used to look like my great grandmother or me and my grandma were so close. Well, cherish that, please, because some of us
They
grow up
don't.
where we don't
They take it
have
for
that
granted.
look like. We don't have that like resemblance
Mm-mm.
where we can be like, oh, you really favor your father or you really look like
Like
my
you.
mom's mom. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
took that
it
off
is
rails.
something that you can't it's something you can't describe to a person that's not adopted because it's something that they, like you said, they don't even think about it because
No.
they see it all the time. That's their
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
And then there's people like us who I didn't get that experience right there. I didn't get that until I found my sisters on my paternal side. That's when I
Mm.
found my face. For
Yeah.
real, for real.
Find my face. Oh, that's good. After I found my face.
That's
That's good.
when I found my face.
Yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
really like that.
And I
It,
still to this day look at them and just like, cuz when you can see yourself in somebody else, like y'all really look alike.
yeah, yeah. And I'm obsessed. I've been obsessed since that day with pictures and just looking at people who generationally going back look like me. And it's
Uh-huh.
because as a kid, I mean, I always loved genealogy, probably because I was adopted and because I just had this, I don't know, spiritual, instinctual kind of thing where I'm just like, I really love watching people find these connections and how they're related to people and all that stuff. And so I want that for me. I really want that for me. And so when I got it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is the best thing ever for me because now I actually get to just talk about it as much as I want. I get to look at it every day and it's mine.
I'm assuming based on your conversation that you have um talked to, or rather met both your biological mom and biological dad.
I did.
Okay, who did you meet first?
I met my biological father first.
Ah, the one that
Mm,
didn't know about you.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You mind sharing that tea?
You know, it wasn't an easy road, and this is all gonna make for a great book someday. But yeah, I think it's because also it was an easier path to move forward because, as I mentioned, there was a cousin that I already made some connections with, and so once she was able to actually help me put those pieces together, she had a direct line to him. And so she was pretty excited, just as I was nervous slash excited to be like, hey, you have a son. You need to meet this guy. He's great. Ha. So meet him. And so she was able to bridge that connection for us. And we had a few conversations, but I'm going to go back because the thing is, when I first believed that this person out there was my father, I did my research. I did my research. And I believed to have found someone, my biological father allegedly, who was a pastor of a church back in my hometown still, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And you're going to get a kick out of this. You're really get a kick out of this. So, thought this man was my biological father and he was a pastor. Um, he was married by that point, had other kids and things like that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, he's still in Knoxville though. And I still visit Knoxville to this day. I grew up coming back to Knoxville. So I'm thinking, what if we just go to this church and, suss out what it is before we do anything major, before we go and do all this stuff? And I kid you not, I happened to be in Knoxville and I found the church that, he was pastoring at, and I went to that church and I sat in there for a sermon, great sermon. He wasn't there. Wasn't there at all. He was traveling or something that day or something like that. And I was like, man, just my luck. Of course I do all this work to find where this man could be, and he's not even in the room.
And did I hear you say this who you thought your father was?
That was before I had my cousin actually make that,
Why did you think this person was it? What led you to believe that?
Well, because I'm a great researcher. Once I had the facts on my adoption records to put names to who were key players involved in my becoming, I just started to research. I just started to look up, people associated with that name in Knoxville, Tennessee. Started to kind of see, okay, are there other family names that
was
are
the plan?
related to that?
What was the plan at this church? Had he been there, what was the plan?
Well, there were two plans. The first plan was to, again, suss out, get recon to see, who is this person?
We are so wild as adoptees. We are so wild.
What is this person like? Do I even want to meet this person as that kind of relationship, right? Because I thought I was doing myself a favor at the time. I thought I was doing myself a solid to be protective of me. The other plan, if that didn't work, was just to introduce myself and go the dramatic route of say, hey, I believe that I'm your biological son based off of this, and let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
At church.
Or I would like to.
At the church.
Well, after the sermon's over.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, no,
at the church.
Well, there's no place like that. Again, that was an earlier time. That was a very
That is a wild story.
I don't want to wait. I know what I know, or I believe I know what I know. And so I'm prepared to run with it.
But you were not prepared for him to not be there.
No.
You never thought about that.
No, and I had a funnier moment after that realization kicked in, that depressing declimax thing, where the pastor who was there and his wife, you know how they do in black churches, would come up and say hello and all that stuff. When we were doing the little meet and greet thing, I asked if he was there, and the wife said no. That pastor was away somewhere else doing something else, and she asked if I knew him, and I said no. I don't.
God. Oh, thank God.
And she looked at me. No. She looked at me. She looked me in the eye, and she was like, "Are you a family member?" And I was like, "No, I just, something. I don't know what I said." But I just sat down and just enjoyed the sermon.
Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, thank God.
I actually forgot that I even did that, until kind of thinking about it. But that's just what I think moral of the story though is, when you're given information, and I'm gonna just make a recommendation to anyone that's wanting to go through that process of accessing adoption records, looking to begin that journey, looking to find those answers. I applaud you, I encourage you, and all the things. But one thing that I did not do, that I did later, but I didn't do it at that stage, was to get some actual help to navigate that process a little bit safer, a little bit healthier. Because
do something safe, because that wasn't safe.
Yes, no, because it is your right, and it is your right, and it is, a very obviously deeply personal, motivation. I don't disagree with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, later on, and getting therapy and different support to help me to move forward on the best foot possible. When I told him that story, my therapist, he's like, "You just always doing some stuff." And I'm just like, I mean, you don't know what I was faced with at that time.
This is who we are as adoptees.
It was a different time, and I can appreciate that version of Adam back then that was just like,
Sure.
you know
Just,
what? Either you are or you aren't, you know?
but when we do this stuff as adoptees, this is how I look at it. And this is in hindsight after doing a whole lot of adoptee stuff and inner work and, thinking about this. We are the product of whatever y'all was doing. So whatever story I find, it is what it is. And you're probably going to be a part of it because I'm a product of whatever y'all was doing.
Yeah. True.
That's it. That's it.
True. I've
And
seen
it's and it's and because I'm here now whatever you was doing, now it's a part of my story.
Yeah.
And I have every right to tell it. However I want to tell it. I'll leave out names and all that, but I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's backtrack. So you find that's how you found your father? Like that's how you met? No, you went to the church and he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. No, he wasn't there.
And they were looking at
Father
you
died.
like,
Yeah. You up to something. Who are you?
who are you? And why are you walking around here with his face? Right.
Yeah. Probably. Probably.
So how much so from when that happened to now, like what's the time frame between when you actually get to meet him and how does that happen?
Yeah. Um, well, we have, I remember my cousin reached out to him to explain basically everything that I knew. And there was still a lot that he didn't know and he had to process because, he rejected that at first because there's
Mm.
no way in his mind that there would be a son of his out there that he doesn't know.
Sure.
And, he wouldn't be there. Um, and I got that. I did because I was at that time pretty furious too and confused and just not really having any true clarity about it. But it started off with a phone call conversation and we talked. And my biological father is very similar to me with a very deep spiritual presence about him where he doesn't really water anything down. It's either all or it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where that came from, some of that, because he just laid it on. He was like fully there, like, you're my son. And, you have to believe that I would have wanted to be there. You have to know that, you have other
Mm.
siblings, like I'm in their life. And yeah, I know that I have other siblings because two of them are the same age as me, and I call us the hood triplets because we're all the same age and we're all born in the same year.
Yikes. Okay then.
Yeah,
It was the
yeah, yeah,
90s, I'm just gonna leave it at that. It
yeah.
was the
It was the
90s.
90s. It was the 90s, and I just slipped on in there.
The
It
hood
was something to
triplets
get
is wild.
great. Yeah, yeah, that's my term for it. But he was very sincere and he was very honest at that piece. But I also learned after meeting him in person, which was a very interesting time because I met him when I learned that he was just in a really transitional period of his life. Like he was beginning to, I think at the time, remarry, and he transitioned from a previous relationship. And I didn't challenge it then, but going back, I probably would have. When we were building any kind of rapport and having conversations and, emailing, texting, on the phone and whatnot, his soon to be, wife at the time was there during those conversations some of the time. And when I
Mm-hmm.
met him for the first time in person, she was there.
Okay.
And it's like, it really should have just been us, you know? Like, I understand why somebody would want to have somebody else there. Shoot, I probably
Sure.
should have. But at the same time, the only person I'm really interested in meeting, the only person I really need to talk to, the only person who really matters in all this right now is my biological father. No one else. And
Mm.
so, but the person that I was back then was a very too understanding kind of person where I would just kind of like say, okay, if I really want this, which is to get to know you and possibly have a relationship, I'll just do whatever because, I still kind of sort of get what I need or want, which is to get to know you and to
Mm-hmm.
have you in my life.
Okay.
But, hey, I don't think that's always the right route to go because sometimes you can do yourself a disservice with not really asking, are you okay or comfortable with that kind of arrangement? Because it comes with a lot of, you know, um, what's that word? It comes with a lot of implicit agreements.
But I think and I'm putting myself in the shoes of like when you go and meet these people and you don't really know these people, and I can only
Mhm.
speak for myself, I don't know how comfortable I would have been to be like, can you just come by yourself? I don't know.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Because,
But see, I didn't have anybody. you know.
oh, so that's right, you're doing this all by yourself. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But you make a
yeah,
lot of sense. You make a lot of sense with that. Yeah. You see it on
yeah.
TV sometimes. You see it, like I'm sure, but I can just go off of what I experienced at the time. Um, and at the time, it's like, I know I was strong. I know I was strong. To go through all of that during the pandemic, you know, with a lot of unknowns, no
Lot of
guarantees.
unknowns.
You
So
know,
when you met him, did he know or remember who your mother is?
not at the time, actually. Because the name that he knew was not the name that I shared. She had a nickname, and when we kind of right the '90s, so when we were able to get on the same page,
The
is
only
that
the only reason why I'm laughing is because again, I was in high school in the 90s, in the mid 90s, in that era. And so that's why it's
mm,
comical to
yeah,
cuz like I
but it's
said, I
good
could
though because that's the thing. That's the generation and the time period that I mean, how can I understand it really? Because I didn't live it.
you
I
didn't
was
live
just
it.
born into it.
You were born
But
into
talking to
it.
you, it helps kind of paint the mindset and the picture a little bit better, even now. So no, that's helpful. Please, like whenever you get a little, oh yeah, I remember how that was like. Insert that in there, please, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
might
yeah.
make some sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Mhm.
yeah, so
Mhm.
he knew
I
after we kind of got on
yeah.
the same page with everything, and yeah, he was like, "Yeah, she never said anything I never knew about you. I don't know why. I wouldn't know, but he was also a teenager himself,
Yeah.
and if you can refer to whatever you can remember back then, I am okay with accepting the fact that teenagers back then, especially like in a small town as Knoxville is, black, community close knit, everybody knows everybody. Like I'm
Mhm.
probably doing this right now and somebody knows who I'm talking about, and that's
Mm-mm.
fine. But
Mhm. They do.
it's like, hey, I can
Mhm.
understand without living that, I can accept that that's
Right.
just what it
That's just
was.
what it was. Right. Because we was outside. Just yeah,
Yeah.
we were outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm learning that. I'm a product of
Yeah.
being outside.
Yeah. When we
you
tell you
know?
we are so glad we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have all that stuff because we don't it's There's nothing on tape. There's nothing on recorded. There's nothing out there. We was just living life with great music.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
yeah, I can. Yes, I get it. So I also get the whole. How could I not know? Like, how does she do? Because it was the '90s. You could do stuff back then that you probably couldn't do now, just because technology is what it is. But back
Yeah.
then, yeah,
Mhm.
you can do something right under the radar, and nobody will ever even bat an eye. We weren't
Yeah,
living.
and
You got to think like this. We weren't living our lives on the internet. We weren't living our lives on social media. We weren't
right, right.
like, if whatever happened in that small town, that's where it stayed. Period.
Mhm. And that, and see, when we talked about it, I remember him saying, like, I've seen her over the years just in whatever capacity, whether it was at the store, the post office, or just a happenstance meeting of whatever. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
a it wasn't a defining moment for him or anything. It's just he was saying that because, they still lived in the same
Mm-hmm.
dang city.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's like he was only sharing that with me because it's coming to terms for him, just like it was for me, that he still didn't know anything. And so you're seeing somebody that allegedly, you know, has, given birth to your child and you don't know, but you
Wow.
still see this person. And I mean, like you said, the 90s was the 90s. And the
It's
context
real
that I
different.
knew from what I learned based off of my adoption records said that, he and her were teenagers. And, she was adamant about not raising me and that she could not do that. That was not conducive. That was not an environment that was going to be sustainable for her to do. And her mother encouraged her to do that. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you're a teenage pregnant, mother, I have a good amount of grace for that because I'm learning, especially in times now with just the issues we have with healthcare, mental health, support systems,
Yeah.
and go back to the 90s. And there wasn't a lot of that for someone like that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
no, I have grace for that,
Mm-mm.
for those facts, for the
Mm-mm.
environments, for all the situational things. There is so much grace and understanding that I reserve for my biological mother with that. My thing is, though, when you move past the 90s, when you start to move forward in life, whatever that life looks like for you, you still are carrying a fact, a secret, information that people deserve to know.
But do they? And I'm speaking from your
Yeah.
mother's shoes. It happened,
Well,
and
the child
we swept
does.
this under the rug. And as far as she's concerned, you're not coming back.
Yeah. I'm sure that was easy. Well, not, I don't say easy. I'm sure that was a more comfortable truth
Sure.
for her to say.
Sure. Sure.
Okay,
It's a
I get
coping
that.
mechanism. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I sure do. I
Mm-hmm.
sure do. I saw it when
So,
I, connected with her. But it still is a truth that the child, the product, now has to live with and
yeah.
now has
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
their own decisions for how they're wanting to navigate life because the choice was never ours.
Uh-uh. Nope.
So I can't be responsible for
Nope.
the 90s.
You cannot. It is not your burden to carry. I get that.
No. But it
Yeah.
becomes the
But
burden
it
to carry
becomes a
with
burden to carry,
the
doesn't it?
weeping and the secrecy and the, well,
Okay, wait,
yeah,
wait, wait, wait,
sure.
wait, wait. Okay, so you talked to your father first. How long does it take for you to catch up with your mother? What's the time frame?
Honestly, and I could be wrong because the pandemic was wild, but I think those were kind of simultaneously running trains not too far off from each other. Like I remember things
Ooh.
happened with him, but then, I finally um, heard from her. Well, actually, no, I reached out to her because after that letter that I sent, I didn't hear back. I remembered that I had a phone number. And so I contacted her because, I like to give people time, to kind of respond. Just like if you go to an interview, you send a little thank you letter and then you wait to hopefully hear back something soon. But if you don't hear
Right.
anything back, you either
And
say,
then
oh, I
follow
didn't get
up.
the job, or if you really want something, you're going to blow them up. And so I
Right.
really wanted that connection. And so I called her and I just had some preliminary questions to ask her to see if she was who I thought that she was according to these adoption records, and she said that she was. And it was very like I'm talking to someone who is more like either a distant cousin or an old friend from college, or like just some you know I don't know, like someone who's not apparently the person that is supposed to be my biological mother when it comes to that connection that I thought we were going to have and just talking.
I
Like
get
I didn't
that.
feel
I get
anything.
that.
There was
I
no
get that.
like real like emotional response or, even anger, surprise, hurt, sadness. There was none of that there.
Nothing. It's just
None
like,
of that was
oh,
there.
hey.
Hmm.
And I get that because that was my experience also. And I
Ain't that
didn't look
something?
like her.
Me
I was
neither. And
disappointed.
well, initially, like if you look detail wise, we have the same eyes, but like just overall facially,
Overall, I don't look like it's the same thing. You could maybe little small details.
yeah.
It's the other side that I look like. But I
Mhm.
found the other side second. So I'm
Okay.
disappointed because there's no connection. Like you said, I get everything you just said because that was my experience too.
Yeah.
Because I had rainbows. You've seen my podcast, rainbows, unicorns, and ponies,
Yeah.
and it was none of
Dab the
that.
rose colored glasses and you'll
It was
see.
none of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. But what you said again, I think somebody needs to write a paper on it. Somebody needs to do a study because that whole sweeping things under the rug, the secrecy, holding tight to information until you die mentality.
Taking it to the grave.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the kind of energy that I had with our connection. Like, that's what was happening. It was like what you said. I didn't think about this like that, but what you said of like, they're not going to come back. I don't know who all that's a biological mother or biological father, if they know that they gave away a child, thinks like this. But I never had that thought about like they wouldn't come back or they wouldn't be alive or there would never be an opportunity for us to have the possible reunion if we have time on this earth. I never thought about that. But hearing you say
Mm,
that, it confirmed to me that's kind of what was happening in those early connections with my biological mother because she was the one that had the responsibility. She was the one that gave away a child, though, right? She was the one that had the information. She was the one that moved forward, in life with whatever life that she moved forward with, but without me and
that baby.
without
So I'll
that
put it to you
connection.
like this. This is what I had to learn and when I began to having to show my birth mother grace. This is I had to learn because same situation, teenage mom. And her mother was like, we are giving this baby up. I'm the second. She kept the first, I'm the second. But by 15, she had had two. But you have this baby, and as a person that has had a baby, I can only imagine, okay, now we have to let go of this baby for whatever reason, we know, whatever choices, whatever. Now she has to go through all the things, and I'm going to just take a stab in the dark and say there's probably no therapy, at least, as a teenager, especially being a product of the 90s. We're not going to therapy. We're going to keep it pushing. We're sweeping it under the rug, and we're not talking about it. And if you didn't know that she was pregnant, nobody's going to know, because that baby's probably never going to come back anyway.
Mm.
And then we show back up, we show up, and it's like, pow, now I got to deal with it. And I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Because I had
Yeah.
this, whatever she had created in her mind, that was it. That's just what it was about to be. You coming back probably wasn't a part of that thought process, because
No, not at all.
because not until here in recent years is it very popular to just go and take this DNA test. Back in the 90s, that was not a thing. People weren't doing that. You saw this on TV. Just giving you another, what I learned. What I was like, oh, I got to show you some grace, because you weren't ready for any of this. Got it.
I have a question for you then. So, do you think that, given what you know
Mm-hmm.
from what you experienced and then what I shared with you, that it would be probably easy to assume, if we were in the assuming business, that a mother like that at that time period with those circumstances would just check out,
Wait, you broke up just a little bit. With what? What was the?
would just check out?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
'Cause that's kind of what I deducted
Mm,
once with more time. Like
absolutely.
after things were happening, like I feel like that's kind of based off of
Hmm.
what you said, that's kind of where my mind was going. Is like I really feel like you checked out here because, well, and I have actually a younger brother. She had a second child after me, but I have a younger brother. I forgot how far apart we are, but it's quite a few years. And I remember wondering, like I'm sure any adoptee, if they realized that their biological parent had children after them, they're like,
Hmm.
why wasn't I kept? I didn't go that deep really with that because I thought, well, life changes. There could be some different things. That could be a different person. They could grow. I hope
You
like we keep them
absolutely
around.
do. And again, because I'm probably roughly around the same age as your mother. The person I was in my 20s and my 30s is not the person I am today at 50. You evolve, you change, your life looks different, your money looks different.
Mhm.
And so then a decision I would have made at 30 is probably going to look different at 50 or 40, or because you do
Yeah.
evolve as a person. Even though you got that thing tucked way back here, but we have tucked it away, especially if we never got therapy for it, especially if we never did the inner work to try and heal from that, because it's a wound. It's a grieving process. Even if she may not want to call it that, or maybe never thought of it like that, but it's all that. And she probably had it just tucked away someplace.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing to me. Like when I think about it back then, I've always had a very open and generous and like very deep heart. I think like I'm very heart centered. I used to be a whole lot more where there wasn't really any kind of balance, no kind of meter to really, safeguard certain things. But I remember thinking, like, if we can get to just uncovering some truths or talk about the facts, or even start to talk about, your perspective, your thoughts, your feelings on this, that would help me not go into a spiral or any kind of negative, response or reaction to what I'm hearing and what I'm learning about all this and what it's doing to me on the other side, because yeah, I went in like you, rainbows, very Pollyanna, thinking like things
I
about to
love
go
it.
well. Yeah,
Yes. She's going
hey,
to be
I'm
like,
ready.
hey. And she's going to
Come
sit
on.
down and be ready to have conversations
Yeah,
and answer all my questions.
yeah, yeah.
Nope.
And it's like, and I say that on both sides of the relationships that I've had with biological father and biological mother, because I think at the end of the day, even without, the two truths for me is he didn't know, about my
Mm-hmm.
existence. However, going deeper into that conversation and back then would mean rectifying for him his own responsibility and who he was back then. And what that means to have a full adult child try to have a relationship with him with that identity being tied to you didn't know about me.
Yeah.
That's
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 a
that's what that
lot.
means for
That's
that,
for
you
that.
know? And then for him or for her, sorry, it means I would have to sit with you and share on my own accord what life was like for me back then and explaining, if I can, to you the thoughts, the feelings, the decisions that I made to maybe help you understand a little bit about how we got here.
What's your relationship with her like now? Before I say what I want to say.
Unfortunately, we're kind of at a standstill in our relationship right now. I kind of like stopped doing a lot as far as like investigating and just being more present at a higher level with those relationships because I started to see that it was taking something away from me instead
Mm.
of me giving and receiving. And so I focused on my own life. And I'm very proud of the life that I've built. I'm married, I have a doctorate, I have a dog, I'm stable, I'm on stable ground.
Yeah.
But, I think those relationships had to pause for a second because it's like it just wasn't getting to a place that was really beneficial, for anyone. It started out that way, and then it became maybe too much heat, maybe too much curiosity, maybe. And I don't think that it's too much for me. I just think that at that time, it's something that both people have to be willing and desiring and asking themselves, what do they want here? And for me, I think I remember feeling like, am I still supposed to be a secret in this relationship? Because that can't happen. I can't do that. I cannot, I refuse, I will not do that at all. Because I want to have relationships with people. I want to know who I
Okay, let me help you with this. Yeah, let me help you.
Yeah.
Because I wish I had somebody to tell me this.
Mm-hmm.
Be okay with possibly never having those conversations. Be okay with whatever you have pieced together and whatever narrative you've kind of figured out just from pulling here and pulling from there, be okay with that might be all you get for
Yeah.
various reasons. That because that's where I landed. And find peace with that. Because like you said, you have built your life, this fabulous life, and the dog. I love that you said the dog.
It's important.
I
It's
know
so
it's important.
important.
Those fur babies.
That's my son right there. That's my son.
And the work that you've done, meaning you have found these people, and the relationships might be beyond those two. For me personally, the relationship was never with them for different reasons on both sides. But I have these sisters that I just love to pieces, and we're good. And then on over here, I have these brothers. The relationship looks different than it does with my sisters, but still, there's a relationship. So
Hmm.
I just, but then I have other extended relatives who I know, and there's some I may never talk to again, and I am okay,
Yeah. Isn't it
cool.
something though?
I am okay with that. So you just kind of have to find your balance and find your peace
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
all this craziness. And then as long as you land, as long as you are okay, because you can't make them talk, you can't make them tell you anything. And even though you're like, I have a right to know, because I have had all those things you are thinking, been there. But at some point you have to settle down and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna get that for whatever reason. And I'm not gonna make it my burden. I know enough. I might not know. Me personally, I'm never going to know my whole story because at this point, both of my uh, biological parents have passed away. I'm never going to get the whole story.
Yeah.
But before they passed away, I was already in this space where, you know what, it is what it is. Find peace with that. Now, they could surprise you and decide one day to sit down and talk, and that would be amazing. But be okay with the other side of the coin because they might not.
It's true. I mean, honestly, I think, and that was, and see, for me, that was like, it feels like it was so many years ago, like a lifetime ago for me when all of that was happening, because it's not happening now. Like what you're talking about with that piece, I've landed to the place where I'm good with what I have. I'm just more focused on advocating for the ownership of a story. Because what I remember feeling like was, even with all those curiosities, even with, asking questions and wanting acceptance of whole truth here, not truth to be shamed, but really just whole truth, and also
Just
to
yeah,
sit with the impact that it has on an adopted person who did not have any choice in this, who did not have any responsibility.
I
That's
hear
where I feel
you.
like with what you're talking about,
I hear you.
that's like you may or may not get. And I understand that. I haven't gotten it. I haven't gotten it. I'm not necessarily waiting for it, but what I am wanting to do is make sure that the family that comes from me, the things that I've been able to do and what I've been able to find, which is a wealth of information and different people, is that I know and I'm comfortable with what I'm talking about. And that if somebody finds me on Facebook, a third cousin who's related to a biological mother or father, I don't have to be like, I don't know. Like, no, I'm
No,
them to
yeah,
know
this
who
is
I
who I
am
am and this
and
is
this
what it
is who I
is.
am
Yeah,
and this is what
absolutely.
it is.
Own that. Oh,
You know,
absolutely. Own
but
that
that is
because it's
such a
your
struggle for people though, because
own
they've
it.
gone through what I've gone through, where and what you've probably gone through too, with being told no, being kept in secrecy, being forced to deal with incomplete stories of how we came to be. I don't subscribe to that though. I can't subscribe to that because if I
Mm-mm.
have a child, if there is a child that comes from me and the home that I create, I want them to know that I am confident with them to tell them, hey man, hey girl, look, this is where you come from. This is who we are. This is what's going on. Whatever I decide to tell them as far as that, with
Let me
all the
tell you,
things, or, you know,
this is wild that we're even talking about this stuff. Let me tell you, because I have had the privilege to do that. My older two
yes,
are
yes,
around
that.
are around your age. My baby boy is 15, and all of them have watched me do all of this and find these people. And so in turn, I've been able to say, okay, this is who we are. This is that person. This is the last name. Something that's really incredible, on my father's side, there is a ton of musicians and singers and dancers and everything. Well, this chick right here has been dancing her whole life. Didn't know where I got it from. I know now.
Mm,
All
that's
my
it.
boys
Yeah,
love music. Had no clue. I know now exactly where it's coming from. That kind of stuff is priceless.
yeah,
And to I now say I have three sides of a family. I've got my biological mother, biological father, and then my adopted side.
mm-hmm.
And I can tell you everything about all the things because I, like you, have sat down and put together this whole big old tree,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm so proud of because I can put myself on a tree and it's like, this is for real my tree.
Yeah,
Nothing against my adopted family who I also love, but you
yeah,
get what I'm saying.
I do. It's
Yeah,
yours.
it's
And
mine.
I love that you shared that, because that's the thing that I would, if anybody's listening that knows me or is wondering how to navigate this journey, I just shared with you that I have had to navigate two complex relationships with the people that created me, but life still moves on. That's really what I wanted to
Absolutely.
make sure that like I make clear here. You don't
Yeah,
have
it
to
does.
stand still. And there are
You
many
don't.
adoptees who I talk to that
They get stuck.
it's hard. It's very hard. I remember that. I remember that like yesterday,
Yep.
where I'm like, why isn't this working? What is happening? What do I need to do differently here? But with the right resources and just, I mean, I've always been a man of faith. I've always been someone who just has this like inner thing that even if I feel like I'm lost or I feel like I'm veering, something always gets recalibrated. I'm always able to
Yeah.
recalibrate. And I'm that's not because of me, that's because of what he's doing for me and through
Absolutely.
me,
Absolutely.
you know? But
Absolutely.
I don't take that lightly either. I don't take it lightly because it's not easy for people like us to do what we do with the mission that we're called to support. Most people don't have to have this thing. They don't have to have this whatever. But and I think you've probably said it before. I think I heard this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think you said adoption is a beautiful thing, but it has, a lot of different, you know.
I
And
said it.
I like that. And I
I,
say it too. I
I
say it
said it.
too. But I want
But
people to know that this is what it's about, though. When I
mm-hmm.
don't say all these different other family members that I'm connected to, it's not even shame. It's because I'm still also figuring out in life, how do I actually tell you who that person is? Because what you know is the two people that you know, my adoptive father, my adoptive mother. You maybe get a grandparent in there
Yes.
too. But what you don't know, who
But
you
what you
may not
don't
know,
know
is these other
are these people.
people
But
who
you
are
know
just as
what?
important.
So yeah, I've had to navigate that too.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess it just depends on who it is. Sometimes it's like it's not even worth me going down this, and so I'm not, and I don't. It
Yeah.
we're not doing this with you, but
Yeah.
it just depends on who it is, the situation, and then at this point in the game, so many people do know my story. So then when I do post a picture with my sisters, they're like, "Oh my god!" And then when I do post a picture with, I'm gonna say for this purpose, my adopted sister, everybody knows who she is because we grew up together. And then
Mm-hmm.
my it just you just navigate. It just all depends, but yeah, you navigate, and then you have this extended family is what I call it at this point, and then you do with it what you will, depending on what, like the people in the family, you treat them accordingly. We're gonna act accordingly.
True.
Yeah.
True. And something beautiful happened, and two things I wanted to tell you
Mhm.
is one, I kudos and thank you for starting with you talking about your adoption journey and then opening up to your, birth mother, your birth father, and then just continuing. I've seen on YouTube just like how you've been doing that. And I kick myself because there's always time and there's no rush. But I started that way too with writing, now with videos, but writing it, and I stopped because I just life is life, and other things were getting good,
Sure.
so I just kept on going. But kudos to you because that's really helpful, I think, for people to really understand and get to know you in a way that isn't forced. It's organic. It's you just telling your story and introducing to the world who these people are in your life. In the
Mm,
age of social media, where we are looking, where we are at the edge of our seats trying to find some kind of stimulus, you've done something that's meaningful, that speaks to the heart of adoptees, and something that is so complex and complicated, but you've made simple.
thank you.
And that's inspiring for me to
Thank
not
you.
stop and reignite that. Because, like I said, if I'm creating a legacy, I want something that's out there for, my future children or just people to be able to see. And then it's like, oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
just more
it's
about
just
who Dr. Adam is or Adam is. It's not complicated. We just are getting to be inside of your life a little bit and get to
yeah.
see. So thank you for doing that. That's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you for saying that. But nobody told you to come on here and make me all teary eyed. I don't appreciate that at all. It's my show. What are you doing?
It happens.
Okay, so I wanna get into your mentorship.
Hmm.
How did we get there, and tell the people all about it?
Yeah, yeah. Something that I've benefited from as an adoptee, and before I wouldn't have just said that it's because I'm adopted. It's just the life that I've always had. Mentors, quality people to pour into me, you know,
Mhm.
just for me, not because I was adopted or anything, just because of who Adam was as a kid, as a
Yeah.
teenager, as a young adult. And I've never forgotten them. I've never forgotten the roles that they've played in my development. When I was that kid that had a lot of, angst and curiosity and nowhere to put it, they would answer my questions. They would walk alongside me and just make space to talk about things that I didn't even always feel comfortable to talk to my, for this purpose, adopted parents, about, right?
Mhm.
Like things that I was just either challenged with or struggling with, either about adoption or just life, just wondering different things about like purpose and where I'm going and what I'm trying to do. And so I've always had a deep appreciation and passion for being a mentor organically and even through formal programs, because there are a lot of young men who grew up like me, whether they were adopted or not,
Mhm.
who were overlooked for things that really they had a greater need for, but the people around them weren't necessarily always equipped to support them in that way.
Mm,
I'm going to speak from the adoption lens here, but there are other big things like mental health, identity, spirituality, sexual orientation, all kinds of other stuff, right? Masculinity, that young men need help. Young men need that safe space and they need that quality support to develop them so they can go and be everything that they need to be, everything they can be. And the only reason I am able to talk about this in the position that I am now is because of those people who are still in my life today. They've shaped me, they've poured into me, they've got me out of some tough situations, and they've also uplifted me and were able to see beneath, like see the things that are like, okay, I know this about you
mm,
because I'm paying attention to you, and I want to help you take that and soar and accelerate and go and do great things. And those are things that we should not take for granted. And
mm-mm,
so empowerment is all about that. I'm just doing the work that has been done for me so I can now take it to a different space and work with people who need my assistance to do that. Yes, if they have foster care adoption experiences, I'm uniquely able to support that. But also, you know, there's young men who I meet in different spaces. And okay, there's also not just men, but other people, just young people who I meet that I'm like, you're sharp, like you're really, really sharp. And they're like, nah, like I'm just, I'm like, no,
nah.
no, like let's really like lock in here because the way that you talk, the way that you move, you could do some really solid things. And I see myself in you, but I really want you to be able to think about how to be self empowered and move through life with what you're dealing with to get what you really want, to get success on your own terms. And there's just so many different ways to do that. But I guess I've just gone through enough highs and lows at this junction to be like, okay, it's time to give this back in a different way at a higher level where we are
Yeah,
in it. We are really in it. So yeah.
I love that. And let the people know how they can find empowerment.
Yes. I'm on Instagram right now. My handle is at empowerment by underscore Dr. Adam. You can also find my website and more information about how to work with me and what I do at www.empowermentbydradam.com. There you can find my social media, my Instagram, and my LinkedIn, so we can connect there. Um, but yeah, like this is a great need, and I am just excited and aligned to support those efforts. And I know that it's what I need to do because when I have conversations with people, they get their ears perk up a little bit when they're like, "Oh, so tell me more about what that's like, mentorship and black men and foster care and adoption and leadership development and all that." And I'm like, well, I mean, there's not a lot of me in the spaces that I'm looking around. There are
Ooh,
black men who are very
ooh.
successful, though. I'm gonna say that there are black men in the community that are doing great
But
work.
there
It's
are
not about that.
not a lot of you. And I know exactly what
There's
you
not a
mean
lot of
when you
me.
say that.
There's not a lot of me.
Mm-mm.
It's gonna
Nope.
stick with that. It's gonna stick with
I
that.
get it. I get it. Nope. And you are
Yeah.
absolutely right. So I will make sure that I drop all of Dr. Adams' links in the description so that you can just go there and click on it and find him and get connected. I want to thank you, Dr. Adam, for coming on and telling us your story and allowing this is a little different because the conversation, yeah, I didn't know our stories were so similar. And I didn't know that I was going to be able to speak to you and into you the way that I was able to do. And I was just sitting here thinking like, okay, God, this is why I have to be in certain places at certain times, because you just never know when it's time to pour into somebody. So thank you.
Receive it. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to have someone who does get it. And, I'll give a little shout out just real quick to my parents-in-law, because they're from that generation too. And, they're cool. They're like the coolest adults that I know.
Yes, Gen X, baby, Gen X.
I'm like, man, maybe y'all could help me understand a little bit why the things were like they were.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I'll share a little more with you offline. But yeah, Gen X.
Yeah.
We had a good time. Well, don't leave me. Don't hang up just yet. You're so welcome. And on that note, bye, family.
Journey on. You need a pie with the good. Oh yeah, what is the one?